had a meeting with John Dowd and Downing inside the jail, and John Dowd just, instead of comforting me and, try and calm me down, telling me, like, it's going to be okay, like, don't worry, basically start talking to me like a drill sergeant and telling me, giving me orders, like, be a good boy, like,
He said, be a good boy?
No, like, I don't want to quote him exactly on what he used in that, because it was a while ago and I don't remember exactly, but it was his condescending attitude towards basically, like, who do you think you are, telling the president or Giuliani or anybody to, like, come out. And because one of the things I said, I can't believe nobody's coming out in our defense and saying, like, we didn't do, like, wrong, we're good citizens, that, we work. And basically, word for word, and then I said, if you don't get out of here right now, something bad's going to happen, because I don't want to see the two of you. And at that point, Downing hit the emergency button, and the security took me out and took them out.
Make you an offer you can't refuse. It is Friday, January 17th, 2020. Welcome to Raging Chicken's Out the Coop podcast. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken Press. Each week I talk to our Capitol muckraker-in-chief, Sean Kitchen, about the good, the bad, and the ugly in state and national politics. On this week's show, impeachment begins with the weirdest parade I've ever seen right across the Capitol grounds. Just weird. And yes, you heard him right there, right up top of the intro. Lev Parnas takes us inside the Trump cult. We've now entered the era of mob reality TV. And Parnas turns up the volume and sings like a canary. It was so freaking great. It's the best TV I've watched in a while, I gotta say. That interview with Parnas. Freaking loved it. Well, it was also that week where the Democratic Party establishment has been waiting for the great Bernie Warren fight. Yes, we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to talk about some of the kind of commentary and some of the stuff there. But really, what we need to do is keep our eyes on the prize here, because it's not good. So, there's been reports that are coming out now, and then the pro-Biden folks are basically, they're salivating right now because they see that they can do nothing but gain. Sit back and watch the carnage and bring us back to those good old days of neoliberal love. That's right. And Joe Biden, just to kind of put a point on that, says he might consider Kamala Harris as a running mate. Yep, he's making his moves. In today's PA Focus, the kitchen cabinet launches. That's right. The Sean Kitchen grift has begun. We shall get into that. Yes, our very own Sean Kitchen is making it to the big leads with the launch of the kitchen cabinet. Charter Appeals Board meets again. Well, kind of, there's a room and there's a meeting scheduled and there's no speakerphone and a person, so I guess you can call that meeting. Kutztown University, just in time for the beginning of semester next week, it raises its class sizes in order to keep adjunct faculty at part-time. Not that it has any impact on anybody's health insurance and benefits, security. So much for the lasting effects of interest-based bargaining. That unicorn's been slayed. And I'm just going to stick with my prediction that now that APSCUF and PASSHE have settled their long-term contracts, the axe will begin to fall. PASSHE budget hearings will be held in the State Senate on February 20th and the State House on March 3rd. So, strap in, everybody. And in today's last call, yes, I am back from Seattle. Was not there last week, but maybe you caught some of my pictures from there. And it was a huge shout out to the great folks at the Seattle Beer Company. I'm going to give them every thumb I have up, and then just it was an awesome place. It's right behind, it's on Western Ave, it's right behind Pike Market, and this little place that makes you feel like you're drinking on the docks. It's freaking awesome. The beer was awesome. The people were great. So give them a big shout out today. Free Will has also got some new releases from their sour cellar that I will talk about in the last call. And Free Will's got also some cool news. They got some shout outs in hop culture this past week. Yes. I want to remind everybody to tune into the Rick Smith Show on Free Speech TV this and every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can stream the show live at freespeech.org. You can tune in the Dish Network, DirecTV, or through the Free Speech TV app on Roku. But make sure you download his daily podcast, the Rick Smith Show's daily podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And if we want a progressive future, we need a progressive media. You can help support Pull No Punch's homegrown progressive media today. Become a member of Raging Chickens for as little as $5 a month. Simply go to patreon.com/rcpress and choose your membership level. We're expanding our network as we prepare for the fight of our lives, the fight for the future in 2020. We're all in for the fight. Now we need you. We're not asking you to break the bank. We're asking you to become a member for the price of a good beer once a month. Help keep the media in the movement in the media. Become a member for as little as $5 a month by going to patreon.com/rcpress today. Well, Sean, we've had a little bit of a hiatus here, and welcome back once again after I made my little quick rendezvous or a quick jaunt out to the West Coast and back.
Yeah, how's it going?
Pretty good. It was, I got to spend about a day, maybe a day and a half there. So most of it was in airports. So I had to apologize in my head to Greta the entire time that I was doing it, as I'm freaking burning the fossil fuels to go to this conference. But the conference was really good. I'm actually going to I forgot to mention this in the intro. I'm actually going to do a special thing. It's going to release on our Patreon page for members that originally released for our members, and that'll kind of be made public later on. Is that I kind of got a good response from the paper that I gave out there. It was basically on looking back at kind of a struggle we had to get adjuncts office spaces at Kutztown University back in I think it was 2004, 2005. And some of the things that we kind of did there, and some of the principles out there, and so that was pretty good. So I got a bigger crowd for that panel that I've been on one in a long time. That was pretty cool. Got to see my friend Pegeen, who I haven't seen in a while. That was a total surprise. Didn't know she was going to be there. She didn't know I was going to be there. So we got together and kind of went to the Seattle Beer Company. But I love Seattle to begin with. I love just the feel of it, even though it was rainy the entire time. I just love the feel of the place. So.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you, man? How you been?
Pretty good. Nothing really new going on.
Nothing new. Except you got the grift going, which we'll talk about.
Yeah, no, it started a newsletter. Got a really great response out of it. 40 people have already signed up, and you should also sign up for more. So actually, starting it and then doing it are two different things.
Surprise, surprise. There's the idea, and then there's the labor.
Yes.
How many times have I ever said to you, this entire time I've known you, ideas are great, but you always have to pair it with the labor.
Oh, I know. Well, and that's why I think I'm
Guess which one's the hard part, by the way?
The idea.
Should have been an academic.
But I'm an idea man. No, I'm joking.
Yeah, exactly. I'm an idea man. I'm telling Bill to shut up.
Yeah. So I launched the Kitchens Cabinet. Great name. It was just, to pretty much launched a newsletter to get back into writing, and especially for 2020, what's coming up. There's gonna be a lot of stuff happening here in Central Pennsylvania. I wouldn't mind covering. I feel like there's also a space for it too, considering how Central PA is a media desert, especially with the amount of money it's going to be coming into covering the PA10, the other races, and then hopefully build this thing to the point where the first couple months are going to be hard to get it going, get it rolling, but I think once primaries come around, this is going to be up and going, and it'll be awesome potentially to go see potentially get into some presidential events, Warren, Sanders, Biden, when that comes around.
No, that's awesome.
I mean, hey, I could say I have a list. I could also use my cachet as a social media influencer. No,
there you go. No, so this is like the shout out to everybody. So
I'm monetizing my Twitter account.
Yeah, when I get all those questions about like, hey, how come Sean's not writing for Raging Chicken anymore and things like this? I said, well, it's pretty clear. There's no cash in it for him. So if you want to go to his writing, you got to pay for it in his newsletter now, because God forbid, like they contribute to building some alternative media source in the state. No, because there's just no freaking bank in it. So you got to have the grift, right? So the grift is there, and so
which you are a part of,
which I'm a part of right now as I'm doing this, right? Because I'm like, I be clear, when he says I'm part of it, right? I'm not getting anything from this, right? So it's like I'm part of it in so much as like I'm giving him a platform to sell his grift. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Money. And money. Yeah, I'm giving you money. Right? Exactly. So there you have it. So so there's a wide open position here on the APSCUF podcast, by the way.
I also photographed Shanna Danielson's launch party last week, which was cool, and I am shooting a launch party tonight.
Nice, man.
Yeah, it's nice. Yes, I also rented the a 35 millimeter lens. The $2,000 fucking lens from Perfect Image down in Lancaster, and the photos that thing was producing was phenomenal. Also love the images of Eugene milking a cow from the cow milking contest at Farm Show, which was hilarious.
Yeah, that was good. I like that, actually. That was a good shot. The angle was perfect for it. No, seriously, the angle was really good.
Yeah, no, he had a fun time. Almost ripped my arm off when he shook my hand, which was awesome.
Which was awesome.
Because, I have a shitty health insurance plan. But,
and Eugene works out.
It's already looking like 2020 is going to be a hell of a lot busier than 2019 was for me, and looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's boom and bust. That's it's like just like the oil industry.
It's what's like working from campaign season to campaign season.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, squirrel away your nuts now.
Yeah. So who cares about like building movements? I'm working campaign to campaign season.
Come on, man. You got to build a bank. I get it.
But no, it is
Eyes of the prize,
weird.
Man.
But it is weird, like once you get wrapped up into that thinking of every 2 years.
Oh, I thought you meant of like nothing but the bank. I thought you meant that was every 2 years. Sorry, I was misunderstanding what you were talking about.
I also forgot to put this in the show notes today. Scott Wagner sold Penn Waste.
What?
Yeah, Scott Wagner sold Penn Waste over the past month.
Please tell me he bought a billboard company. No kidding.
He loves billboards.
Yeah, exactly. No kidding. He sold Penn Waste?
Yes.
Is there like an angle that he's got on this or what?
Nothing's been reported yet. It hit it hit this like insider trade blog called Waste Digest that like it was sold, and it was like rumors were going around.
It's too good.
So locally there's this Facebook page called Newberry Township Breaking News, and it looks like it's a right wing like Facebook page. So it's like you gotta take the shit on the post up there with a grain of salt, because it's like a shit posting like aggregator pretty much. And yesterday, like a couple days ago, a picture they put up Penn Waste with a big sold sign on it, and someone's like, "Did you see this?" And I said no, and I kind of like was poking around, saw this digest. Asked one of my friends who's a journalist down in New York if he saw Penn Waste sold. He's like, "You gotta be kidding me." I'm like, "No." Here's like this blog that reported it, and they confirmed it was sold, but no other reports of the deals were made.
He probably got this call. It was like this. It was like, Scott, I don't know if you remember me, but I'm getting a little worried that Mike Pence is going to roll on me, so I think I'm going to need to bring you aboard.
Well, it's actually funny. He put like $20,000 for the security at the Trump event last, which good for him. Maybe he wants to retire. Maybe his image was a little toxic after his meltdown.
Which one? Which meltdown?
I would at least like to take credit in a small part of this.
Maybe he and Turzai are going to start a comedy club. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Well, let's talk a little about some of the stuff in the national news, and we'll get there. We'll probably have this. Will probably be a kind of a light show, folks. So I'm going back to our classes start next week, so I'm like in the thick of finishing all my preparations. We're getting back in the swing of things, and I have to say is that this week has kind of felt like a gut punch to me, right? And in a bad way. Well, there's a good way and a bad way, right? I'll kind of make three. One, there's the impeachment stuff begins this week. There's all sorts of weird things happening there with the rules of it, and kind of are there going to be witnesses and all that kind of stuff. I'll leave that for MSNBC to cover, right? So. But I mean, do you have any impressions coming away about with the startup of impeachment?
Not really. I don't know. I mean,
I had this weird feeling.
I mean, like the Senate's going to not convict, but I mean, that's everyone knows that, and that's not what this is about. This is about using the impeachment tool as a bludgeon, as a hammer, and bludgeon them with it. But it doesn't seem like Democrats want to do that.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like. So there's these two things that were going through my mind up here, and I don't know if it's just a function of like reading history versus being in the moment, or if it's something that's unique to our moment. Like, because I remember, when you learn about like the Nixon hearings, right? I mean, of course, Nixon wasn't impeached; he resigned before he could be impeached. But the Nixon hearings and even the Clinton hearings, for that matter, the impeachment is that they felt to me. Well, the Nixon ones, it felt like a really serious crisis in American culture, right? The Clinton impeachment felt like it felt like a partisan like engagement, even though Clinton, like, whatever, we don't need to rehash all that stuff. But it's just like he's stupid, he freaking lied, he's dumb, all that kind of stuff. But it was like 2 years of investigations to try to take down Bill Clinton, and then the impeachment there. But it had this kind of sense to it. It's like, holy crap, they're using impeachment. This one, I don't know it. Maybe it's just because of the everything has become weaponized, and everything has become about kind of media kind of manipulation, or whatever it might be, that the seriousness of it, they tried to really pull off the seriousness of this thing, and it kind of felt like a performance that was like of a bygone age. And I don't know why exactly it felt like that. It just might be like, I'm sick of everything going on with Trump. But here's this guy who's like the worst freaking president in U.S. history, right? At least a contender for it.
He wants to be king.
Well, that's what I mean. And like
establish a monarchy.
And it feels like the there's reason for people to be kind of like on fire. We need to get rid of this person. And instead it's like this kind of like,
malaise.
Well, there's this improper conduct in Ukraine, and he didn't give the Senate what. I mean, it's just like wants us to kind of get behind this passionate feeling about the institutions, as opposed to like the stuff that the guy has done that is so freaking insane. That is not even making it into the main, into the impeachment stuff. So I don't know. So that was one thing. The other thing is that we're getting the rerun of the Susan Collins script, right? Of like Susan Collins. Well, I'm open to kind of hearing the evidence. I want to consider. I might need to do this and blah blah. We know where she's going to end up in the end. She's going to freaking vote like in favor of Trump. I mean, that's how it always works. But it's like the media cycle on this stuff. It's like, wow. I was listening to this stuff on NPR this morning. And some commentators talking about Susan Collins and how Susan Collins is an independent thinker and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, she's not. She's like, that's just the script. That's just the story that she constantly runs out. And we've got, now in a course of a year, we've gone through that script 3 times. And still, it's like new every time. And it just feels strange. So I don't know. So that's.
Well, it's Susan Collins. You said Susan Collins, right?
What's that?
You said Susan Collins, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, no. No, I mean, I don't know. You have the thing yesterday with McSally calling the CNN, "You're a liberal hack."
Right.
Like, I mean, it's like seeing that was almost pretty laughable, considering the fact that like you're not going to be a U.S. senator in 2 years.
Right.
Like by 2021, you're going to be gone. Like,
right, and she's like pretty behind in the polls right now too, as well. So,
like, yeah, like Gabby Gifford's husband is just going to clean up that election, and it's almost like, are these people willing to just set themselves on fire like this, like, and go down in the election?
it appears to be.
I mean, I don't know, like, I feel like there's a malaise, but it's also, I feel like they're just being blatant about what they want to do, and just they don't even want to rein themselves in with this. And we knew that was going to happen. I mean, like, that was just like,
well, does it? I mean,
and it's almost like, it's amazing how people, well, maybe someone in the Senate will step up and vote. Like, no, there's going to be not a single Republican that's going to vote for this in the Senate. Like, I mean, like, we're on the phone today talking about like the possibility of a tie-breaking vote in the Senate, like 50-50, and like Chief Roberts is going to have to might have to cast, like, who gives a fuck at that point?
No,
like,
but that narrative right there, like, that's another one that you just that discussion, right? It's like it's hinging on this kind of like who's going to be the Messiah? Who's going to be the Messiah? And it's like this is it's really it's a spectator sport. I really feel like the reality TV model has really taken control. That it's like who's going to be the one to make the decision? Who's going to step up? And it's this kind of like it's half a story about somebody who does the right thing, right? And it's half just about like people trying to make good TV but not quite nailing it. You know, I don't know. I'm not being very articulate about it, but it's just like it's been really bothering me because it's like, this is the kind of stuff that, you know, for me, for the longest time, these moments in like U.S. history and all this kind of stuff mean a lot. But they have meant a lot, right? I think they're important. And that for this one, I'm watching it and like I'm not feeling the importance of it, right? And that's a problem. And and again, I haven't quite figured out like what's that about. And I worry that that's like about kind of like, okay, it's the effect of kind of watching, you know, our trust levels and anything that happens, anything that we can do are kind of out the window. But yeah, I don't know. So we'll see. But I, you know, it'd be. I mean, I hope that we're gonna get to see more. There's all sorts of questions about what kind of like reporting is allowed in and all this kind of other stuff. I very much hope that this is actually going to do what it's going to do, because I think so. You did not see the Lev Parnas interview, is that correct?
I did not. No, I did
not.
All
right. So this is what I'm going to say to everybody out there right now. You need to watch the entire Lev Parnas video. That's 2 consecutive nights in the Rachel Maddow show, right? So the first one was Wednesday night, and last night was the second part of the interview. It's like, I can tell you, I watched it.
He doesn't want to die on the inside without saying anything.
But you gotta watch it, because like I listened to it and then I watched it. Right?
He's going to the same jail where Jeffrey Epstein just killed himself.
But I'm telling you, the guy is like cool as a cucumber sitting there in this thing. His lawyer is freaking hilarious to watch, because his lawyer is kind of like staring at Maddow like waiting for the snake to strike. You know? It's like that's what it looks like, and it's like but Parnas is. Okay, here's the kind of thing, right? This is what the whole thing felt like. It felt like Parnas, and I'm not saying that he is this guy, okay? But this is, if I were to cast this and I were to tell this story for a movie, Parnas would be like the experienced mob guy, right? The guy who's been around the block. He's got blood on his hands, but no one's ever been able to touch him, right? And so this guy Trump comes up. He's a little skeptical of him, right? A little skeptical of what this guy's going to do, but he seems to be kind of into it. He seems to be, and we got to get back into the game here, and so I could run this show for you internationally, right? I'm all connected. We're going to get me. You're going to hook me up. It's going to be fine, right? And then he gets to this point, right, and he gets arrested, right, and finds out that Trump and his people are not going to stand up for him, right? And so he's like, What are you, fucking stupid? I've got everything. I've got
This
all
is
my
Lev Parnas?
Yeah, I've got everything. I've got everything on all you motherfuckers. Right? And you're going to leave me in here to rot? You're going to hang me out in the wind? Bye-bye. And now he's just like sitting back and knows that, like, even in jail, because people are going to freaking bringing him silver trade shit full of food. He's going to be like,
it's like the big Goodfellas, like they're making their, like he's getting bread, cheese, making sauce, having like having the Italian fishes and everything. Like,
I'm telling you.
No. So that clip was literally like the first thing I heard of this whole entire interview. And it's just like there is literally like no honor among thieves with these people.
Oh, but see, this guy, this is the thing. This guy, I think he would have gone to the mat for Trump. All Trump had to do, right, is speak out in favor of him. The minute that Trump said, I have no idea who this guy is, I think this guy's like, fuck you, man.
The fuck
done.
you don't.
And like, this is where Trump is like, Trump thinks he's he's like, he's the big guy on top. And really, he's not, right? This guy Parnas, in my mind, like the way that it felt watching this thing is Parnas is looking like that. Fucking amateurs.
Can we talk
fucking
about,
amateurs?
Can we talk about how Nancy Pelosi waited to hand over the impeachment articles?
Yeah.
Until the day that like Parnas's evidence like all came out the air. She's just like, I mean, first of all, it's like everyone's just like everyone's lambasting her for like slow walking this, and then everyone's like apologizing the next day, like, oh, now we knew what you were doing. You were getting the Parnas papers.
You were waiting for that judge to give him the approval to hand this stuff over. So, I wonder like how much she knew about what the timeline was there and stuff, because it was just I think
they all knew. I would think she knew.
Looking back, yeah, I would have to say that's what it looks like at least. If not, it's pretty freaking
the timeline just happens
good
to match
timeline,
up.
yeah. But the Parnas stuff, I'm telling you, I sat there. That was the one thing that I've watched of late that it was riveting and hilarious, right? And kind of like just. The joy that you get of like watching a movie with this kind of stuff, that's the way it felt, because it's like it's like the kind of thing you can't make this shit up, right? It was a great interview and great TV, and you're sitting there like your jaw's dropping and you're like, this guy is just like, he's dishing it all. He's like, they're all in on it, they all know. William Barr, yeah, he knew. Rudy Giuliani, here's my text records and my phone records. They even got like voice recording calls of him, Giuliani. Right? Like, I mean, the shit that you read the documentary stuff, you read what he handed over, it's crazy, right? Yeah. And then this character comes on and he's like, look, I'm scared. When the Justice Department turns against you, because, William Barr, people are scared because William Barr is going to go after him. And you're like, what? And then he names Jay Sekulow. Now, the interesting thing, Jay Sekulow is actually, he's one of the guys who's going to be defending Trump in the impeachment hearings, right? And he's all over this Parnas stuff, right? So he's actually like a collaborator, right, who is now defending Trump. And there's all sorts of weird stuff that, Ken, the person who's implicated in the lawyer who's implicated in the actual grift, no offense, again, they actually represent him, it's like all this kind of shit. I don't know, but it's, so we'll see. But I mean, seriously, watch the Parnas stuff if you get a chance. It's totally worth the time. It's just, if you approach it, whatever you think about the whole Russia stuff, the Ukrainian stuff, just watch it for like real life, like mob reality TV. Like that's what it feels. If you watch it with that mentality, it's like boom, crazy.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the script, right, you've got the Bernie Warren fight. Right? I don't know. This is what felt like the punch in the gut to me this week.
Yeah, I wonder how long. I don't think this will carry on much longer. I feel like this was a made-for-TV sensation, or made for Politico and made for CNN fight that they tried to gin up. I mean, I don't know. I mean, to me, this seems more like reality TV reporting what you were just saying, like causing it than like the actual facts of the matter. First of all, I think it's really bad on both ends for attacking each other. Like it's like, yeah, I mean, like, because Warren is going to need Bernie's voters to win.
Frankly, I think they're both I think they both need each other in this one.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why, I mean, when this stuff started coming out and I started seeing
I feel like it was strategically released. I feel like I don't feel like there's that bit. I don't feel like the talking point story that happened 2 days before was that big of a story, but I felt like that was enough of a catalyst to launch into the story. Like the time that trying to claim that like Sanders is sexist and doesn't want a woman to be running for president. Like that's how that story was spun off in the media.
Look, yeah. I mean, I just look at this. I mean,
there's been nuances to it where Sam Teeter, David Day, and others have, said like, listen, we've had conversations with progressive women, and they've almost reiterate the same point Sanders has made in confidence over the past couple of years. I mean, no, I feel like we're in a down period anyway. With the left, like we're not a down period, but I just feel like again like that malaise. But it's also like we shouldn't be unloading our fucking missile silos into each other either.
Well, look,
and that's where I feel like this is going. I feel like this is just the left dropping bombs on itself instead of like doing what we always do. And yes, I feel like the main protagonists in this stuff are your uncontrollable Bernie stands. Like, you know what I mean?
I think I mean that's the problem to me. Is like this is what I watch. How this has been taken up like in the mainstream media is that you had all of a sudden you had all these people like from the Clinton campaign, right? Kind of come out and it's like rehashing the entire kind of Bernie Bros thing. Like literally, like that's what they're saying. The Bernie Bros are back. The Bernie Bros are back. And look, there are some absolute assholes. Right
in the Bernie camp.
In the Bernie camp, there's no doubt about it, right? But that is not the same thing. Like the people who are on Twitter is not the same thing as like the Bernie Sanders camp. Now we could have a really good important discussion about whether or not that like to what degree should Bernie or at least people who are at the top level of Bernie staffers be trying to clamp down on these people publicly. Frankly, I think that would be a good idea, right? I have no problem with that, right? That's a smart thing, right? But it's to make that next step and kind of basically say, so therefore we're going to sink the campaign based upon kind of say Twitter behavior is a significant problem for the left, right? So that's why I'll tell you what happened for me is that when I started seeing this stuff break up, and I'm like watching people go to camps and organize they're organizing a stronger fight against each other than they're organizing against Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Right. Which just blows my freaking mind. It's like I watched the freaking the full artillery come out. Right. I mean, so that Warren can go against Sanders and Sanders can go against Warren. And meanwhile, Joe Biden's sitting back like freaking working popcorn in his mouth.
Or putting his teeth back in.
Or putting his teeth back in, right? I'm trying to remember where he left his teeth so he can put them back in, right? But no, I'm seriously, that's the way it felt. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're willing to kind of go after each other with like the full force of kind of like, this is the last battle, the last stand, and you let Biden sit there, right? The fact that this was supposed to be, when was the whole bankruptcy bill crap supposed to happen on the stage? Right, where the Warren Biden fight, that was a big thing. That never happened. Right, when was Sanders going to go after Sanders? Is people going to go after Biden? Right, for a whole range of different things. Right, they kind of happened a little bit. Right, but then here now suddenly the camps kind of blow up on each other, and that is the worst possible thing. So what I did is I got a Bernie sticker. And I got a Warren sticker, and I put them on my freaking car. I posted them on social media. I said, I'm not playing. Right? Because I'm like, I'm not doing it. Because guess what? It's like, I'm not going to a freaking camp. And no, I don't need to choose sides in this. Right? Because my investment is not in a freaking messiah. My investment is not in some person on top of it. It's not a celebrity culture thing. This is about the future of the goddamn planet. This is about whether or not people are going to die for lack of Medicare. This is about whether or not we're going to strap another generation with unaffordable debt. Or we're just going to say, screw all them. And if people can't get their shit together, that's a problem. And I'm not talking like whatever happened in that conversation, right? Frankly, Bernie could have handled that a lot differently on the stage, too, as well. He could have basically said, look, that is not my recollection when I said this is what I understand to be said. And I am sorry if that's how Elizabeth heard what I said. Because he basically said, look, I said that Trump is going to weaponize everything. And he's going to weaponize stuff against women. So kind of you be prepared to that. I don't know if that's what happened or not. Who knows? Right? But they could have also had a conversation before the freaking debate. Right? And this is what I actually said on social media on Twitter. I said they should come out ahead of time. Before the debate, held a mini press conference and say, we're going to put this thing to rest before CNN is going to run with this crap. But there was something was going on in the camps and the campaigns that they thought it was a better idea, right, to kind of go to their corners than it was to kind of keep this going forward.
Publicly, like, yeah.
I don't understand it. And that for me that is not about smart left politics. That is about the same kind of garbage that we've been wading through on the left for as long as I've been alive. Okay? And I'm sick of it. Right? And so that thing is like, so Warren and Biden or Warren and Sanders are going to do their shit. Right? And how their campaigns are. But the rest of us who are trying to fight for a livable future, right? That it's our obligation, right, to not do that. It's our obligation to kind of push forward. And I don't care if you support Warren or if you support Sanders. If you support Biden, I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. But if you support Warren, you support Sanders, right? We got to find a way of moving forward, right? People want to make their arguments. We could say why Sanders, why we can do all that kind of stuff, but this does not help us to go after each other, right? Or to be, or to air this stuff out publicly without having to coordinate with each other behind the scenes. So I don't know what happened, right? But I'm not going to be in the camp that's going to say Elizabeth Warren is lying. I don't believe that, right? I can believe that she came away from a conversation with that. That's what her takeaway was. And that Bernie has a takeaway that is different from that. That he said these things, but he did not say this, the stuff that a woman couldn't be president, right? So both of those things can be true. Why the hell they decided to do this on a CNN debate night, right, as opposed to kind of coming out and taking control of the narrative ahead of time, I don't know. So, Sam Cedar said something that is really important on the Majority Report this week. And he said, if you are looking to a politician, right, for your solutions and your answers and for your, to kind of take over and make everything better, then you are a fool. You're being played. You're a sucker. Politicians are politicians. If we're looking for freaking messiahs, you're in the wrong business. Get off the damn campaign trail, right, and go find a mountain somewhere and kind of freaking become a monk, because this is not for you, right? This is about, serious politics is about a future that is livable and a future that is going to kind of be better than it is now, because we are on the precipice of tanking, folks. We cannot do this crap. So, anyways, end of my little frickin' whatever diatribe. But it's so damn maddening. So, I've been going back and forth. I didn't realize I felt this strongly about this until just now. It's been building all week. Because it just I don't know. So the thing is, here's what's going to happen: is there's going to be there's going to be journalists that are going to dig into this afterwards, because one of these two campaigns is going to tank, right? And then we're going to find out what goes on, what happened, right?
I think Warren's camp is more susceptible of going into the tank than Sanders. I don't see Sanders' tank. I don't know. I don't see Sanders' team imploding. Like, you know what I mean?
I don't think the team is going to implode, but when the team is not necessarily going to implode. They're fundraising, right? Still breaking records, right? The thing that's bothered me about the Warren campaign of late, right? And I my wife and I were talking about this last couple weeks ago, or last week actually. It's like there seemed to have been a few, say, political kind of missteps, or they weren't blunders. They were just kind of like the whole thing on Medicare for all, right? The fact that at first, instead of coming out and saying, here's how you pay for it, yes, taxes are going to go up, and this is why, she wanted to kind of the language they kept on coming back to is she wouldn't answer the question. So people started to kind of distrust what she was actually saying, and then, which kind of fed into that distrust, it comes out later with this 2-step program on Medicare for all. And I think that
after the midterms of your first year,
right? And I think that took, and then you see her poll numbers start to go down, right? And I think that's a general response to that, right? I mean, I think, and that's not her fault. Well, I mean, look, you think about the campaign.
It's a consultant's fault.
It's like wherever that's coming from, wherever that strategy is coming from, right? It reeks for me, right? Because it reeks for me about these centrist Democrats, the people that have been as part of that kind of Democratic establishment that were kind of brought into her campaign early. That this is kind of that move. Say, okay, how do you actually appease the people for the center? It's the same kind of stuff. Instead of an approach to the campaign, which is about mobilizing your base and getting turnout, you're trying to get those unicorn voters that we've been talking about for the past several years, right? Those people from that are more likely to kind of, they're in the center or someplace. We're going to bring them over to the side and have one Big Ten, right? So I don't know. I mean, I just it makes me nervous. It makes me frustrated. But you know what it is. It is what it is. So we're gonna see where this goes. We have got less than 3 weeks now until the Iowa caucuses, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Oh boy, so, that's what I got to say, Sean. Anything else you want to throw in?
How about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
Oh God, we'll see. Hey, look, it's a good play.
I think it's uninspiring. I mean, like she didn't. It shows you. I don't know. I think she's uninspiring. I think it shows that she was uninspiring. I think it shows that she's not ready to run a campaign.
But who's going to love it?
The centrist Democrats
and
Indivisible.
And
well, no, who?
The media.
Yeah.
Cable media and mainstream media is going to love that ticket because she's an African-American woman, he's an experienced guy, and it's going to look like this kind of gradualism that they are all happy with. Like, frankly, even though the mainstream...
So is Stacey Abrams too much of a bomb thrower for Biden then?
Definitely.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it.
Biden would never have. Well, I'll never say never, but I cannot see Biden bringing on Stacey Abrams because Stacey Abrams, frankly, she is invested in a different approach to politics than Biden. Kamala Harris is not. Right?
Yeah. No, I think it's stupid. We're talking about the VPs already. We don't even have like a.
No, but this. I
mean, it's almost like the Scott Wagnerification of the national election. Like, I'm going to pick my, lieutenant governor as my running mate right now, and this is who I'm going to be wedded to.
Right, but look, all he's got to do at this point is signal in that direction, right? Because that's what that's all about, right? That is all about creating this image, and it reinforces. What he's trying to cultivate, right? I'm the guy who's going to make you feel like everything's okay. And that, we're still moving in the positive direction, right? And we're going to take that one next step forward. And I think, unfortunately, there's not a lot of excitement about his campaign. But I think it's going to play well in the media, right? It's going to play well and say, but it's also going to, if he gets the nomination, it's going to suppress. Chapo was on. Did you the debate night coverage on Majority Report? Basically, Chapo Trap House basically kind of invaded it afterwards, right? So they came on and one of the things that we said was like, look, we know that our listeners, let's talk real here, our listeners. And I'm not saying this is a good thing, but our listeners, we're not talking about Out the Coop now, we're talking about Chapo, right? If Joe Biden is the president, a good chunk of them will not vote, right? And he's saying, I'm not saying that's true, but I know how this stuff works, and I think that's true.
Yeah, no, I don't think Biden inspires people to come out and vote.
Nope. And we could talk about how good or how bad or how right or how wrong that is, but that if we're going to deal with reality, that's a reality. So,
I mean, it's also one last point. Like I saw yesterday, Dave Weigel tweeted out something or made a retweet where this woman's like, "Oh, I support Bernie in the Iowa primary, the caucuses, then I vote for Trump. I support Buttigieg, and if it's not Buttigieg, I want to vote back for Trump." Like to me, like people were making fun of that, and I have my own thoughts. Like, obviously, this is what happens when your party loses its core values of standing up for the working class. You're going to lose voters like this. Like you're going to lose voters who are more populist. But also, like, when you have a populist party, you're going to suppress those instincts of racism and stuff like that. I don't know. Like, I mean, like, it was just total, like, us against them. I want Medicare for all. And then she's like, but I vote for Trump. And it's just like, I don't know. I mean,
look,
I hate to say, like, I feel like populism is a cure for this. But I mean, like it is
here's what I think is that
having a party that doesn't want to that wavers and waffles on supporting working people, you see why they go towards the Republican Party,
right?
I mean, like I don't know. I had a conversation with someone at Speakeasy about a month ago, and he's in his 40s and he works in one of the government offices. He's like, I can't believe as like someone in my 40s, like. There's a whole entire generation of voters who don't know that Democratic Party was the working class party.
Well, yes, that's true. Have you read Ryan Grimm's book, We Got People?
Not yet.
So I'm reading it right now, and it says spoiler alert, everybody. So one of the other things I'm going to start rolling out on our Patreon page is also I'm going to do some kind of quick book takes and things like this of stuff that I'm kind of reading on the shelf. But I'll talk more about that once I get up and running. But Ryan Grimm's is going to be, I think, one of the first one that's out there. The important thing, his book has been amazing to read because he approaches the Democratic Party. He solves a problem that I've never been able to quite to figure out, right? And that is that how the Democratic Party made the transition from like the racist Southern party of the Klan onto one that we associate with the kind of like progressive wing of things, right? And there's a story about civil rights and supporting it, and there's a mainstream story about that. But he digs down a little bit deeper into that to look at these kind of compromises that were kind of made, and in that reformation of the Democratic Party from the racist like Ku Klux Klan kind of South. Right, South-dominated party to where we are today is they had to make a series of compromises and switches in a way that they never really came back together around kind of like an ideology, right? And we saw it. There was a coming together around the New Deal, right? But that kind of started to fall apart. So it's a fascinating book. And it reminds me a lot. It helped me think about what's happening right now in the Democratic Party, because I also think it doesn't serve us to kind of sit there and think about the good old days of the Democratic Party, because the good old days of the Democratic Party are strung with racism.
Oh yeah, no, it's right. I completely agree with that. It's almost as if even like our institutional movements, like the labor movement, strung with racism still today.
Exactly.
To this point, I don't know. Like it's just seeing that tweet is just making so much doesn't make sense at all. But you know what I mean? Woman from Iowa. But it's just
But I think
trying to wrap.
No, sorry.
How many voters are like that? Like my dad was like that. Oh, I would have voted for Bernie, but he voted for Trump. And again, 19, grew up Philadelphia, Frank Rizzo type Democrat, never voted for a Republican in his life probably until Trump. But also I think my dad probably would have never have switched parties if the institutions didn't fail.
Right.
And it would have kept those type of feelings suppressed to the point where he didn't have to vote for Trump.
Right.
To where he still had his union job. He still was able to retire at an age. He didn't lose over half his income and start working as a security guard with a bunch of retired racist cops.
Yep.
That's the type of stuff. And only gets red pilled and stuff like that, and thinks Rush Limbaugh on Fox News is awesome. I think that like our institutional failures are allowing for this stuff to happen as well.
Right.
And the institutional failure of the Democratic Party.
Right. And where the money is in the Democratic Party, it pushes against like having a kind of a strong programmatic approach to politics, right? And this is what the strength of the Sanders campaign. This is why Bernie has got the kind of support that he does, and this has been the strength of Warren's campaign. And what concerns me is that now I keep on hearing the voice of the moneyed Democratic Party establishment consultants pushing her campaign in a direction that I worry is going to negatively affect her. Right? If she gets the nomination and those people are out in front, it has the potential of kind of not exciting that base. I want her to be that, put forward the kind of strong, aggressive, anti-corruption, anti-corporate fighter that she's been. And that is a strong message for her. Yes, it's still different from Bernie's. We can argue about that in terms of what it is, but that's where, those two need to be in my mind.
Yeah.
But All right. We're going to move on. I'm just going to shut my mouth now. All right. We'll be back right after this. We remind you that you can help support this work, this podcast, and help me contribute to Sean's grift by going to patreon.com/rcpress and become a member today. We'll be right back after this message.
Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1915. It was the day that the people of Chicago stood up to demand an end to hunger and unemployment. Their stand began at a meeting at Bowen Hall, part of the Hull House complex founded by Nobel Prize winner Jane Addams. The number of unemployed had grown across the country due to an economic recession. A harsh winter had made the situation even more desperate in Chicago for thousands of out-of-work and homeless people. 900 people crowded into the hall for the meeting of the League of the Unemployed. More stood outside, straining to hear the speeches. One of the speakers was the fiery Lucy Parsons, the wife of one of the Haymarket martyrs. At the front of the hall hung a black banner emblazoned with one word in white letters: hunger. Those attending the meeting decided to march to City Hall to express their demand for work. Some in the crowd carried banners. One read, "Why starve in the midst of plenty?" Another demanded, "Give us this day our daily bread." This banner was fittingly carried by Episcopal priest John Tucker, known affectionately as Friar Tuck. 1,500 people marched that day, and with them they had a new anthem to sing as they marched. For the first time, Ralph Chaplin introduced his song, the labor anthem, Solidarity Forever. As the march made its way downtown, it was met by the Chicago police. Brandishing batons, the police dispersed the marchers. More than 20 were arrested, including Lucy Parsons and Friar Tuck. Now, more than a century later, Solidarity Forever is still sung when working people gather to stand up united.
Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever.
Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
Welcome back to Raging Chicken's Out the Coop podcast. We're here with our PA Focus, and so I know we talked about this right at the top of the show, but we're going to do it again. Like so, Sean,
round two
of Kitchen's Cabinet.
Yes,
right. So has this been the kind of thing that's been in the works for a while?
It's been an idea for a while. Kind of like happened spur of the moment. I had a phone call from my friend James Krasonsky, our friend James. Mm-hmm. And
oh, by the way, huge shout out to James Krasonsky. I'm going to send him a picture later on for the AI 2020 tote bag that he sent me. So
yes, awesome. I got the Jenkins and the we were talking and some exchange, some ideas back and forth. He's like, and eventually like, you should start your newsletter. It's like, it's actually something I've been thinking about for a while. I just haven't done it yet. And he's like, "Oh, what's it going to be called?" It's like Kitchen's Cabinet. He's like, "Boom, that's it." I'm just like, "Yep." I mean, it's kind of like it's a little bit of self-deprecating humor. It's funny. It's kind of like it's kind of weird having to put yourself out there like that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially, but it's also want to use this as a space to write about the stuff that's happening, going to be happening within the primary and afterwards within the state. And I think that there's definitely a space. If you want to listen to a bunch of boomers eating omelets in diners at counties that voted for 80% Trump, go read Selena Zito.
For example.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's a couple of things. One, Central PA is a media desert. I don't trust Penn Live to really cover a lot of this stuff. And there's a niche here for that. I want this to grow to the point where I can be covering stuff, say, in Allegheny County or Lehigh Valley, southeastern PA, where the battleground seats are going to be. There's going to be a lot of focus happening in central Pennsylvania because we're going to need to pick up one or two House seats out here to flip the House. I think that's just what it is, in my opinion. But also, find a way to start covering races, cover the congressional race that's going to happen out here. This is going to be one of the most watched. It's going to be the most televised congressional race, probably within national media outlets. I want to start this now to have that momentum going by the spring and summertime. So
it's pretty cool. So, so I'll put the plug in. It's patreon.com/kitchens cabinet. That's one word, kitchens cabinet, patreon.com/kitchens cabinet. There'll be a link in the show notes for $3 a month. Sean just released the first one yesterday, right?
Yes. Yes. So I wrote about the Charter Appeals Board, and then I wrote about there's a constitutional amendment that's going through through the legislature right now. The Senate has to vote on it by the end of the session, and pretty much this is a bill that would change the Supreme Court and the statewide appellate courts, the Commonwealth Court and the Superior Court, into judicial gerrymandered districts. Mm-hmm. So instead of having these statewide races, they wanted to have these races. They want to have these courts broken up into districts, so you can have a rural white minority controlling over suburban, urban, diverse majorities. And this will change if this goes through this year, they can then run it again next year in both the House and Senate, have it on the ballot by 2021 in the fall, and then radically change our courts as we're getting ready to redraw our maps. Our congressional maps. So this is an absolute power grab. Democrats will help control the redistricting commission for the first time in 30 years. And because of this, Republicans are pushing these bills forward. Also, if we change up the Commonwealth Court, we will highly politicize the Commonwealth Court, and this will be a huge attack on workers.
Yep.
This will allow right-wing bills to come through and go after unions, public sector unions, get Janus-style bills going through and try to change the labor law through the courts. So, these are things that we have to start thinking about, and this is something where we flip the House, this goes away. We don't flip the House, there's a possibility this comes up next year.
Well, this is one of the things that that is astonishing to me. So I remember when you first moved out to Harrisburg, right? And when you started really, not first moved out, but when you started actually really digging in and building some networks and started attending different hearings and things like this, one of the things that you used to pay attention to and still do are when, different kinds of legislation is being introduced, right? That would be dismissed by a lot of journalists, right? And a lot of legislators for that matter. It's this is never going to go anywhere. Right? This is not going to happen. This is not a big deal, right? And they kind of poo-poo it away so it wouldn't cover it. And you've always refused that, right? And this is what you're talking about with this gerrymandering bill. I think it's right to talk as a power grab and to see it as a strategy, because the GOP thinks strategically long term, right? About power.
This is playing for keeps.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And so that's what's always been the value. And it's why, and
again, this bill has gotten did get reported on. The way they passed this bill, they passed out of committee back in the spring, in April. They got the first consideration, second consideration. They removed it from the calendar back in the springtime and left it sitting open on the calendar on the table until the last day of session and passed it without anyone paying attention.
Yep.
Like, this is what there's votes that go on at the end of the year to give people a vote politically in committee. Bill gets out, then they can fundraise off of it, or like a bill to like drastically change the U.S. Constitution that's getting pushed will pass out committee, but it'll never reach a House vote. You're just giving them fodder for their voters and their movements. This is actually something that's much worse.
Yep.
This is definitely something people have been paying attention to. Republicans snuck it in on the last day of session, and this is something we have to watch the Senate do for next year.
Well, there you go. So remember, everybody. So if you want to keep abreast of these kind of things, not only can you get some of that right here on Raging Chickens Out the Coop podcast, but you can now subscribe to Sean's newsletter at patreon.com/kitchens cabinet, one word, kitchens cabinet, for $3 a month. See, Sean, I've hated this kind of thing, like having to ask people for money and do this kind of stuff, but now I can do it kind of well. It's like I make the pitch pretty strong. So
yes, we are already up to 40 subscribers in the first week, which is fucking awesome. Thank you to everyone who's done that. I didn't really think it would get like that much traction within the first week without even producing content. So no, a lot of it's going to be a lot of the people are from Central PA. People from different campaigns out here are already following it. Got some friends from Western PA and Philly on there. And no, like, I'm looking forward to, hopefully this goes beyond Central Pennsylvania. I kind of want to keep, like, my idea with this is really take it back to looking at this as like a political geography project, and writing it in that sense of like different scales, state, local, federal government, and stuff like that, and how all of these are interacting with each other on each level of government. So
no, that's awesome, man. And I know it's got to be like, you know, kind of a little anxiety producing, because I mean, it does mean that you got to do work now and stuff. So that's
yes,
that's like, I mean, you actually like have to do stuff to get money. So I mean, I know that's got to be a little unsettling to your world. So
it was weird. Like, I actually had the first couple, like the majority of it done by the weekend, over the weekend. So it's like. It's got to find that time.
Oh man, well there you have it. So what else is going around in the state?
Charter Appeals Board met again last week. Also noted.
Is that all in quotes?
Me,
air quoting it,
as I like to call it, the biggest grift in town.
Yeah.
I mean, but this, like, going to this board meeting is like my favorite thing of the month to do. It's like 2 hours of monotonous bullshit, and you just dread walking in there. But like when you see an empty board with a row of like speakers, like someone on the speakerphone and a row of like microphones,
with nobody there.
It's almost like the thing is, it's like I was the only person going to this for the first like 4 or 5 months of last year until other media people started coming up. And then after like pulling on people's legs, like, no, you have to fucking go to this thing and see how ridiculous this is. And so like when people started, like, I think like Lizzie Harrison started going, and she's been going every month now. So there's like a gaggle of reporters just like, all right, Charter Appeals Board time. Thumper. Which, I don't know, I guess it says something about like my enjoyment of work. The fact I look forward to this thing every month is fucked up.
I love going to the meetings where nothing happens for 2 hours. Well, it's not that nothing happens, but it's like it's
I mean, this past weekend was pretty crazy. So Aspira Management, 2 charter schools in Philadelphia got non-renewed. They were the Renaissance schools, managed by Aspira. They're owned by the school district. The buildings are, but the charters are ran by a management company, not the charter school. The charter schools didn't get renewed. So the Aspira, the Charter Appeals Board, is only for charter schools to go to. So Aspira tried rewriting this thing over the past couple months, claiming that they're also allowed to go to the Charter Appeals Board and get these appeals overturned, even though they're not a charter school, but simply because they're a third party, aggrieved third party. And
Oh my
thankfully,
God.
which would completely rewrite the purpose of the Charter Appeals Board. And thankfully, they had the foresight to quash the motions 5-0. Like Philadelphia school district lawyers who they look at us and laugh when we walk in every time. Like, oh, these guys are here again. But no, it's stuff like that. It shows you the value of months of going to this stuff and finally getting some fucking sunlight onto these things.
Right.
I mean,
right. It is kind of sick how much you enjoy it, but it's. But I have to say I enjoy it that you enjoy it so much. It's always fun hearing about what's happening this month.
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, yeah, it was. Oh, and then Propel had their on there for 5 months in a row.
I love this one. This is a good one.
So I actually had to leave for this, but Propel. Apparently, the lawyers from Propel asked the board, because like you think about it, like these are lawyers, they're coming from Pittsburgh for this 1:00 meeting, so they can't miss it.
They can't miss it, which is just.
So like imagine if you have to drive out from Pittsburgh once a month for this fucking meeting that's not going to go your way. So like one point the Propel lawyers asked, well, okay, you're also leaving at like 6-7 o'clock in the morning to get out to Harrisburg because it's like a 4-hour drive and you don't want to like something could happen on Turnpike, an accident and all. You better like make sure you're there. So like the charter school is billing these lawyers, which is our tax money, going to these lawyers' pockets to come out to Harrisburg once a month to have their charter school issues not resolved. So the woman from Propel asked the board. She told the media, it's like, we asked the board, instead of having to waste our time and driving out here once a month, if we too can participate the conference by phone. The hearings by phone. And they said no. So, and now like this past week, this one woman showed up, and her quote's amazing. She like ran out of the room, Julie Cook. So she's like the one person that's been hanging up this Propel thing by voting yes in support of the charter school, even though the charter school wants her to vote no, so she can, so they can then take this to Commonwealth Court and get it overturned in Commonwealth Court and go down that route. So she's the one out of that 3-1 vote that's keeping it from like being an action item because there's an empty spot on the board. And there's like 2 conflicts of interest. So this is like the ending of like Lizzie's story. The 5 appointed members of the Charter Appeals Board were nominated by Tom Corbett, Wolf's charter-friendly predecessor. All are serving expired terms. Julie Cook, the only board member who was physically present for Tuesday's meeting, declined to comment to a reporter after the meeting concluded. When Cook was asked if she wanted Wolf and the Senate to confirm new appointees, she said only, "We all do." But no, I mean it took a year of going to this to finally get to this point for a board member, like agreeing that this is just dysfunctional fuck up.
Yep. Well, you see the like slow realization of people like, this is messed up. I have to waste my time. And I feel like I'm stuck. I'm stuck in this world I can't get out of.
But it's also, you think about it, like, if these people with the expired boards, are they like pissed off they're still serving only now? Or are they upset because people are finally writing about it on a monthly basis? Right. That their grift is finally getting like shaken out in the sunlight.
Exactly. Like, exactly. Put that in a newsletter.
And what's a funny hill about this, it's like, now that we're there, all the Department of Ed press secretaries are there. The whole entire comms team is there.
Oh my God.
Like, us showing up has drugged the whole entire communications department pretty much.
Oh my God, that's too much.
Because now it's like, yo, we got this thing going on here. Like, the education secretary hasn't even been to the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's at Tuesday at 1? Yeah, I'm open Tuesday at 1. As long as that Propel thing is still... As long as that Propel thing is still on the docket, I'm good.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. And then our boy Scotty.
Yeah.
What's going on with him?
He sold Penn Waste.
Sold Penn Waste. Sold Penn Waste.
That's it.
Why did he sell Penn Waste? Do we know anything?
No, nothing.
I can't wait to find out what he's going to do next.
All that money is probably going right into like an anti-union campaign.
Oh, I'm sure.
He's probably either he's going to retire or he's going to be just retiring, thinking about ways to just get fucking payback against people for those billboards.
That's what I'm looking for. I think that's the direction he's going to go. He's going to position in some place. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who lets things go.
No.
I do wish he bought a billboard company. That would be great. That would be the best thing ever. Crazy. All right, so a couple things just on my end is that. So one thing is this is something you're going to be hearing more about. I'm going to start writing about this now because it's kind of woken me up on a couple things here. So we have this thing. I won't bore you with all the details of it, right? Because I want to make sure Sean stays a little awake for this. But so basically, you have your at Kutztown University, you have your full-time faculty, right? Your tenure track faculty, and you have your adjunct faculty, just like everybody, every other university has got that set up. Because we are a union and because our APSCUF contract is a good one, relatively speaking, when it comes to adjunct faculty, most of our adjunct faculty members are full-time and paid not exactly on scale because they don't get steps, but at least at the same scale as say a first-year tenure track faculty member for the most part. And again, there's a whole bunch of qualifications that got to come with that, but it comes with full benefits, comes with all that kind of stuff. So we do have some part-time faculty, but those are very, very rare and very small. So the university has decided, right? The administration has decided once they and actually there are some faculty members who have been complicit in this, but once they kind of redid the general education program. They took all the composition, the first-year writing classes. They took it away from the English department, which is my department. And now it exists as a separate course, which is under the kind of rubric or under the auspice of the General Education Committee, right? So it doesn't really have a home. So technically, these courses are now kind of directly managed by management, right? Without faculty oversight, without a departmental faculty oversight that's in part of a governance process, right? So that's a little bit of the backstory. When these courses came out, right, as they were part of the new Gen Ed, they were capped at 22 students, like per the class, right, which is still above what is considered best practices nationwide, right? But it was better than it could have been. So 22 people, right? So inexplicably, the last semester, the administration decides that it is going to knock a bunch of adjunct faculty members in the English department and across our campus, not just our department, and this is not just comp classes, there's other classes too, knock them down from full-time to three-quarter time until every other course fills. Right? Every other spot fills and has complete. Then they'll open up additional sections. Right? Now, the problem with this is that there are some students, right, that have schedules conflicts. Right, so very often the reason why a course isn't filling isn't because that nobody wants to take the class. It's because they need another section at a different time, right? So, just as an illustration of this, right? I had a class that was going to run. It was going to be a graduate class. It was going to be on a Tuesday night. I was very skeptical that it was going to run just because there was a lot of classes that were running already. But whatever, give it a shot. That our chair wanted me to kind of run the class. I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. Not didn't run. Wasn't enough students to roll in it, right? Which we kind of expected. So we put a Comp 200 class, right, the second level composition course into my schedule. Now, up until then, right, all the the administration was all claiming that we don't think we're going to have enough seats and blah blah. We'll see what goes on. We had evidence otherwise because we had all these students who were coming to us as our advisor saying we need to get in. There's no section that's going to work. We kept on keeping track of this stuff and telling the administration they wouldn't believe it. My class opens up, right, at the very end of the semester, and it fills in an afternoon. right? And there's still students that are coming in kind of looking for sections, right? My purpose of telling you that is to say that there was demand for this class, and it was part of a required class that is going to negatively impact students if they can't get this class, right? They kept on claiming, the administration kept on claiming that there was not the student demand for it. We have no demonstrated data on student need, even though we had all these kind of individuals coming to us saying we need this stuff. So they knocked everybody down to 3/4 time. So while I'm in Seattle, right, while our department chair is in traveling someplace, while our composition person, right, is also in Seattle, right, the administration, this is last week, classes start next week, the administration decides to go through and increase the class size across the board of all the full sections, right? Without any input of faculty, without any input of kind of a governance process, increases the class size on this so that they can put more students in the class and so that they can keep all those adjuncts at part-time. Now, why does that matter? Well, because in our contract, if you go below full-time, right, that means you lose full benefits, right? Now, I don't have the exact numbers on this right now, but I can tell you this. I've been contacted by several individuals, both in my department and some other place too as well. What that has meant now, right, is they meant that they got co-pays and they've got contributions to the medical insurance that they can no longer afford. In at least one case, right, we have a family member who has a serious medical condition who is now going to be negatively impacted, right, by that decision. And the reason why this person took this job had everything to do with the health insurance. And now they've just been screwed. Now, if you remember, this happened last year too, where there was a part-time faculty member who had to have life-saving surgery, and so had to take extensive time off, and the administration refused, right, to work out a deal with the union so that person could keep their health insurance. Instead, we had to freaking set up a GoFundMe site to make sure that this person had the surgery so they didn't die. That's our administration. Now, at Kutztown and some of the other universities, we have been telling both our local leadership, right? Our local leadership has been pretty receptive and understands this, but our statewide leadership too as well, said you want all this nice kind of play nice with the administration to have this interest-based bargaining for this contract. Meanwhile, at the local level, right, we have university presidents that are putting the screws to our faculty, right? University presidents that are kind of violating what we believe is the contract, the spirit of the contract, and any kind of idea about shared governance, right? So that's what just took place, right? That's what just took place. So I say that, and you're going to hear more about this as this kind of rolls out. This also was happening at the very time that the administration, we found out that Kutztown University has basically, students are presenting to our counseling center, right, with kind of suicidal presentation, right? Suicidal kind of thoughts or whatever it might be, right? At a rate that is higher than the national average, right? What is the university's administration's kind of response to that? To refuse to fill vacant positions of counselors, right? To try to increase and kind of put a freeze on hiring of the counseling staff and forcing them to work overtime, right? And to look for additional ways of kind of contracting out the counseling services, right? You're going to hear more about that, right? That's already made it once already into a national publication. It's going to make more. So when we're talking about at the local level, first of all, Medicare for all, number one, right? They take away the leverage that these people have over you. And number two is that any idea that my brothers and sisters in APSCUF, right, or across the labor movement right now, who are going to buy into this idea that you've got administrators that are kind of trying to embrace some sort of kind of new shared governance strategy where they're trying to look out for the best of faculty and students, it's a load of crap, right? And I'll put my money on that one. And I've said this before after hearing the budget hearings last year, right? The chancellor of the state system, right, basically came out and said, look, this year we're going to be trying to keep the status quo. Next year is we're going to have to make some hard choices. Now that the contract is settled and there's a new contract, which is a long contract, right, my money is on the fact that this is when the axe comes down. So, like I said, we've got the budget hearings that are coming up. The PASSHE budget hearings are coming up on February 20th and March 3rd, right, in the Senate. The State House is March 3rd. The State Senate is February 20th, right? And there's a deadline that's coming up for for retrenchment, right? There's an academic retrenchment where they can cut programs and consolidate programs and things like that. I think it's in April, I believe, right? So watch that date. And then we're going to see what happens with its staff. At the same time that that's been going on, there's been a strong, like seriously, breakneck push, right, to put majors online, right? To the point where I'm actually getting training in distance ed because I got to freaking teach these classes, right? And so that's going to have a huge impact too as well. So, look, they keep on talking about major transformation of the PASSHE University. We're in the midst of it. Except it's being done by Chancellor McDreamy, right, with the nice hair and the nice, speak from kind of like the Microsoft speak about kind of like how we go use data to kind of transform all this kind of stuff. My guarantee is that everything is not hunky-dory in Kansas. That's all I'm saying. So we're gonna see some more about what's happening, what the experience is, and what the impact is going to be on these adjuncts who were forcibly cut down. That also breaks a cycle for them, which means they can no longer be converted to full-time status kind of down the road, right? It's a bunch of stuff that's going on here. So heads up on that one, folks. So I'm a little bit pissed off about it, but that's the way it is. Anyways, that's my happiness. So we go back to classes next week, and we'll see where we go from there. Anyways, Sean, anything else in the wonderful world of Pennsylvania?
No, but I am checking my email while you're doing this.
Yes, I know. I know you would be.
I actually am going to be circulating petitions out here for Eugene DePasquale when that starts. So just looking at some of the rules and petition signers and circulars and stuff like that. So
nice job.
We're 1 month away from the circulation period.
There you go. All right. There it is. All right. Well, everybody, we're going to come right back with today's last call. And we'll be just a minute or so. Remember, you can become a member of Raging Chicken by going to patreon.com/RC Press today for those $5 a month. We'll be right back. This is Kevin Mahoney, editor and founder of Raging Chicken Press. For the past 7 years, Raging Chicken Press has brought pull-no-punches, progressive reporting and commentary to the interwebs. Our long-form investigative pieces, stories that no access journalist wants to touch, or rollicking weekly podcasts strive to advance progressive movements and perspectives rooted in the struggles happening across the country or down the street. We've broken national stories and caused our share of discomfort in the halls of power. If we want a progressive future, we need progressive media. And you can help support Pull No Punches, homegrown progressive media today. Become a member of Raging Chicken Press for as little as $5 a month. Simply go to patreon.com/RCPress and choose your membership level. We need to make sure to keep the movement in the media and the media in the movement. Best way you can do that is to become a member of Raging Chicken today by going to patreon.com/RCPress. Thank you for your energy, your encouragement, and your support. Keep up the fight. Welcome back to Raging Chicken's Out the Coop podcast. It's today's last call where we talk about beer news, space news, and a whole bunch of other things. But first, before we get into it, mail call! Sean just has got a mail call. Important news just in.
So Scott Perry sent me a mailer today, which I found to be pretty hilarious.
Nice.
Yes, I guess I should read in full because it's just reading it is actually pretty hilarious because he literally brings up infrastructure in lieu of impeachment.
Nice.
Yes. It's dear neighbor, while pundits and partisans relish in the relentless rancor that has come to define the 116th Congress, please know I have not lost sight in the critical matters that impact your health, your welfare, and your future of great communities in Commonwealth and country. One of the few issues to evade the present vortex of partisanship has been the insatiable thirst of many of my colleagues to spend more of your hard-earned dollars without regard to the ramifications of debt. I am not Washington to overspend or bankrupt our nation. I authored a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, which forces Washington to spend responsibly. Fuck that. Speaker Pelosi and the majority have been conducting impeachment proceedings. The laser-like focus on impeachment has squandered the entire year of opportunities to address important issues facing the nation, like the desperately needed transportation infrastructure bill. Meanwhile, drivers on the District 10 roads and bridges literally sit and wait.
Does that even make sense?
No, it does not. Like, he's just... I think the House has passed an infrastructure bill, didn't they? It's like the Senate that's not doing anything. No, he's just bullshit from him. It's pretty funny. Like, I'm on this mailing list. Like, yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. Very nice.
So Chris, one of our, I put up was Scott Perry's wasting taxpayer dollars. He's like, please tell me it's about an upcoming shredding event.
Oy vey.
I am really looking forward to this. I forgot to mention, I went to the farm show last week for the first time.
Oh man! Wait! That was your first time?
In 4 years, yeah.
Oh, in 4 years. Okay.
Well, usually I just went there just to go to the cafeteria, eat something. This is the first time walking through the events. I went to the celebrity cow milking contest, which was pretty hilarious. Yeah, but no, as soon as I walked in there, my allergies faced
oh my god, I bet.
It was I probably looked like the kid from the girl from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Just instantly and I was telling my friends I am deathly allergic to horses, and they're like, well, how do you know? I was like, I rode one when I was younger, and I went to the hospital afterwards.
That's how I know.
I needed a massive shot of Benadryl.
Oh my god!
And I had to use those nebulizers for people who get pneumonia and shit like that and bronchitis.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and I had an asthma attack, an asthmatic probably went anaphylactic shock over that thing, but no, that was fun.
Nice.
And it is fun seeing how people dress up for that too. There are state reps who come down on a field full of cow shit and stuff, and hey, in their in a suit and tie, thinking you're milking a cow, which is awesome.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, so that was my fun stuff from last week.
Very cool, very cool, very cool. Well, I have to give my big shout out as going to the Seattle Beer Company. So I was in Seattle last week. It was for the MLA, which is the Modern Language Association conference. I was there on a panel talking about basically labor action, in particular supporting and fighting for kind of contingency rights, and sharing kind of more experience-based stuff. So kind of thinking about taking examples from action and kind of learning lessons from that and kind of taking it forward. So I give a paper there on, like I said at the top of the show, on this building fight that we had years ago when it came to a crunch on office space. So that was kind of fun. But my friend Pegeen was there. I haven't seen Pegeen in a while. She lives out in Chicago. I was in graduate school with her and her husband Doug, and so we caught up on our kids and everything like that. I didn't know she was going to be there. She didn't know I was going to be there. And then I kind of was looking through the schedule. I was like, oh my god, Pegeen. So I texted her. I have her old phone number, right? I didn't realize it was her old phone number. I thought it was the updated one. So when I saw that she was on the schedule, I texted her, right? So I'm like, I'll see you at your session tomorrow, right? And then I take a picture of myself kind of with a big selfie, what, right? And so it comes
sliding into someone's DMs.
So it's so it goes back. So I get the first time, I'm going to be at your session tomorrow. So before I even posted my picture, right, I get this message back who the fuck is this? right? And then I post a picture of myself, stupid ass selfie, right? And so then I get a phone call, right? And I think it's Pegeen, right? Because I'm yeah, I'm here, right? And some guy's like, who the fuck is this? Right? He's like, oh wait, you're not Pegeen. He's like, who are you? I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry. So
I'm a college professor. My friend had this phone number beforehand. Yeah. I haven't seen them in years.
I was like, sorry. I'm an idiot. My bad. It was all fine. But anyway, so we got together and we went out to, we're just looking for a place to kind of grab a beer afterwards and kind of catch up on stuff and everything. And so I looked around. I came across this place called the Seattle Beer Company. And what they are is they're like a tasting room, a bar, and kind of they call it like an event facility. And it's kind of tucked away a little bit. So if you've ever been to Seattle, it's where Pike Place Market probably is what most people know about. It's like the oldest farmers market in the country. It's like this great place for fresh seafood. It appears in every single movie there is about Seattle. It says public market. That's right, not far from the Space Needle, all that kind of stuff, right? So it is on. So just so you know, it's in 1427 Western Ave in Seattle, right? So it's actually behind and down the hill behind the market. So we kind of had to walk down these stairs in order to get there and stuff. And it's kind of a little bit out of the way place, right? It looks like kind of non-distinct. It's not like shouting like Seattle Beer Co. There's a little like sign out front and stuff. Went in there. And they had this freaking amazing selection of beer, a lot of which from breweries I've never heard of, and the whole place was kind of set up this really casual stuff, like tables kind of on the top of like giant barrels and stools and stuff like this. I just felt like the kind of place where it's kind of, there were no tourists there except for us, I think, right? And the beer was amazing, right? And so I wish I had more time there. I would have gone back there and sampled even more stuff. But while I was there, have you ever heard of Lewitt Brewery?
No.
So this is a Lewitt Brewing Company, and they're based out of Vancouver, Washington. Not Vancouver, Canada, but Vancouver, Washington. And I had this one. It was called Venti Vidi Vici, right? And it was a nitro coffee stout, and the thing was unfreaking believable. It was so amazing, so good. And then I also had the second one was it's funny. He kind of looked at me, was like, "You sure you want this?" Actually, I had them in reverse order. I had the stout second, but the one I had first was it's called Urban Family, right? Have you heard of them?
No.
So Urban Family Brewing, they're based in Seattle, right? And they had this one. It was called the Dark Hymn Sour. Right, so it was this really dark sour. It came in at like 7.8%. And the guy gives me, he's like, it's a pretty heavy sour. I'm like, have you ever heard of Free Will Brewing? It's like, no. I said, I'm regular. They're regular coming out with 9-10%, right? He's like, oh, all right. And that thing was amazing. So I got there, got talking to him, got talking about kind of Raging Chicken Press and kind of talking about the podcast, and they were good enough. If you saw them on an Instagram feed, I have a picture of, I think it's one of the kind of co-owners or something like that, and a couple of the bartenders. Who were kind enough to kind of take a picture, so I got posted up there, and I got their menu posted up there. So I just want to give them a huge shout out. Thanks for the amazing hospitality. Thanks for the amazing beer. And if you're in Seattle, you got to check them out. It's a Seattle Beer Company. It's a 1427 Western Ave in Seattle. Again, I'll put a link in the show notes. Go check them out. They have nothing but kind of like Washington-based, mostly right around Seattle-based beers, and a lot of breweries that kind of just don't make it to the national scale. So check them out if you're in Seattle. Huge shout out. Thank you guys again for the great hosting and amazing beer. So great stuff. So that's my big news of the day. That was my greatest find. It was the most wonderful thing ever. It was so good. The other news, yes, Free Will does have releases this week. They have the Irma Extra, which is coming out. It is a fooder. How do you say this? I always say this wrong. Fouder? Fooder. It's a Fooder fermented farmhouse ale. It's brewed in collaboration with their friends from Forest and Maine, Sean.
Nice.
from collaboration with friends from Forest and Maine, Right Proper Brewing Company, Sapwood Cellars Brewery, and Brotherton Brewing Company. That must have been an amazing just collab. That must have been a blast. But it's produced there. It comes in at 8.4%. It's available in 375 milliliter bottles and in 750 milliliter bottles. That will be available tomorrow in those bottles and on draft starting Saturday, tomorrow, in Percy and in Peddler's Village. Very cool. And some good news coming for Free Will. Hop Culture, right? It named Juice Money. It's a collaboration with Imprint Beer Company. They had named it one of the 5 best beers we had this week. They have that. So they had Free Will Brewing appearing alongside Voodoo Brewery, Long Live Brewworks, and Ingenious Brewing Company, Mutual Friend Brewery, and Speciation Artisan Ales. And this is a little bit about what the write-up looked like in Hop Culture. It said, quote, "There's sour ale. This beer was all fun. The vibrant color was mesmerizing, and the addition of lactose nearly made this beer too yogurty, but the fruit and spice kept it all in balance. Rich plum and black currant flavor dominates with vanilla sweetness and delicious punch of cinnamon. Plus, each sip ended with a slight acidic note to remind you that this is indeed a beer and not a fruit juice, even if it feels like it might be." Right, so they got a great write-up there. Fantastic to see Free Will getting that. Free Will also took away a bunch of awards, actually, at the farm show. Speaking of Harrisburg Farm Show, for a bunch of their beers, which I think I linked maybe the last time we were on the show, so that was awesome too as well. But so stop by Free Will, congratulate them on kind of what happened in Hop Culture. Tell them you heard about it here on Out to Coop podcast, and if you're in that town, make sure you pick up some of that Irma Extra. It sounds like a great beer and a cool collab, especially that you have the link with Sean's favorite forest in Maine. So cool. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got, except for the fact that tonight my son gets to play his first honors band concert, which I'm very excited about. So anything else going on, Sean?
Nothing too much. I'll be going home this weekend. It's my sister's birthday, and I'm getting my car fixed.
Woohoo!
Again.
Not before you go to the bank.
So my parents have actually offered to pay to get the car fixed, which is great.
Oh, look at that. Mommy, my newsletter hasn't quite taken off yet. Can you please help me with my thing? That was very kind of
It's something they offered back in Christmas time, but the part didn't come in. The $20 part for a $200 fix.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
If I had the tools to replace a flex pipe my own, I would do it, but I don't.
But so there you go.
Yeah.
Money down the hole. All right. Well, good thing Mommy's paying for it. That's good.
Yep. Always.
All right, man. Anything else for the good of the order?
That's everything.
All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. I know we're a little kind of chaotic and coming back, but we will see you next week, as I'm sure that impeachment gets underway and gets crazy. Keep the progressive future in sight, folks. See ya!
I had a meeting with John Dowd and Downing inside the jail, and John Dowd just, instead of comforting me and try and calm me down, telling me it's going to be okay, don't worry, basically start talking to me like a drill sergeant and telling me, giving me orders, be a good boy,
He said, "Be a good boy."
No, I don't want to quote him exactly on what he used in that, because it was a while ago and I don't remember exactly. But it was his condescending attitude towards basically who do you think you are, telling the president or Giuliani or anybody to come out, and because one of the things I said, I can't believe nobody's coming out in our defense and saying we didn't do wrong, we're good citizens, that we work, and basically word for word. And then I said, if you don't get out of here right now, something bad's going to happen, because I don't want to see the two of you. And at that point, Downing hit the emergency button, and the security took me out and took them out.